Welcome, guys, to Wild Hearts Podcast, episode 16. So I think what's really funny, Steph, is like you walked in this morning and I was like, the first thing I thought was like, I think I need to up my dress game.
You're getting much better.
I know, it's like all over the place, but you know, our guests are
No.
starting to step it up, so it's like, all right.
But you've gone from like backwards shirts to like
holes in my jeans and crotch and
Okay, well, I have holes in my
knees.
jeans.
Well, okay.
Those are
that's a look.
intentional.
That's a look.
Yeah,
Mine were
that's
literally,
mine.
mine were literally like attached to a pair of jeans that I probably need to throw away like
that's
3
not
months
good.
ago.
Oh my god.
Yay, we're live. Welcome.
Thank
this is
you.
our official 4-month mark of Wild
Oh
Hearts.
my
See,
gosh,
after
that's
this episode,
amazing.
it's like 4 months.
Wow. Congrats,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you.
You're
This
like,
is so
You're doing
cool.
so cool.
You're like a celebratory guest.
Ooh. I feel so honored.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we usually do is we tell the people, mainly your people, who we are,
My
to get
people.
started. So
Hi, Steph.
You
You have a
always
lot of people.
Oh,
Wait,
do
which,
I?
Which
How
phone's
can
yours?
you see middle?
no, that's mine.
Oh, you both
That's
do.
Wild Hearts.
Oh.
Ooh.
How many people press
I
the
guess
not
we
a
all-
snooze button, the out of office button? That was so funny. Jen's the
Oh,
first
Jen,
guy.
yeah.
I was like, yeah, press that out of office button.
Yeah. Join us.
All right, so why don't you tell Steph?
Yeah,
people
Steph's
who we are.
people.
Who
So quick little intro. I'm Micayla, half of Wild Hearts podcast. I'm also a photographer. My photography business is Micayla Jean Photography. I work with couples, creatives, empowerment, portraiture for women is kind of like my thing. And this is my space with my business partner Katie, Maple and Moon Creative. We rent out the space to other photographers and creatives who need a spot to host a workshop, etc.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hi guys, I don't even know which phone I'm looking at. I think
Middle.
this one,
Yeah,
middle.
there's a lot.
My name is Sean
Yeah.
Adam. I am the other half or co-host of Wild Hearts Podcast. I have an inspirational speaking business, Up and Adam Inspirational Speaking. I'm also co-author in a book with 35 other men called Guts, Grit, and the Grind, a mental fitness manual designed to be a resource for anyone, mostly men, going through mental health issues.
Cool.
Amazing.
And this beautiful woman over here is, I'm going to read her a little intro she wrote us.
We
'cause
loved
it's
your
amazing.
little intro bio, so we're gonna read it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I was with Jen in the mountains and I was like, what? I don't know what to write.
It's
And she's
great.
like, write this. I'm like,
Well,
oh
this
yeah.
is like, all right, well, I'm going to put on my Morgan Freeman voice.
Oh, nice.
Steph is the brand strategist, business innovator, and culture keeper at Laney and Lou in Wild Adventurous Life. She is passionate about making meaningful connection and sharing her mission of empowering others to step into their lives when the train falls off the tracks. When she isn't artistically curating food at the cafe, you can find her kickboxing, journaling in a coffee shop, or working on the launch of her new top secret business with her soul
Ooh.
sister and business partner Jennifer Josh.
Yeah.
Welcome to Wild
Woo!
Hearts
Thank you.
Podcast.
Thank you guys. What an intro. That was
Culture keeper.
culture keeper.
We
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite roles. in the
Yeah.
job. Yeah.
Culture keeper. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, how about you just like give our guests a little bit more of like an intro in your own live words now, and kind of share a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. Okay. So, like Sean said, I'm a business developer, brand strategist, and culture keeper of Laney and Lou Cafe in Exeter, and our sister company, Wild Adventurous Life, which is a lifestyle media company that's really centered around stepping into adventure in your life, whether that's like hitting the mountains or just kind of going through difficult things, whatever your adventure may be, having an open mind about it. And we're really excited. We're just revving that business back up. We're hosting some events and experiences.
Nice.
But yeah, that's kind of my day-to-day focus, where I spend most of my time.
I'm curious, I have a question. I just saw this, I don't know if it was like Serena Williams commercial about like the women are crazy thing, but like, you guys didn't see this?
No.
Okay, so-
I don't have cable.
Oh, okay. I don't think it's
No.
cable. I think it's social media. So
Oh.
I was sitting down at Armando's the other day. You guys are gonna love this, and I'll like try and help you find it later. But she came out with this thing where it's showing like all these over like a period of history where like women weren't supposed to do things. Like they showed the first woman running a marathon, and like
Yeah.
literally there were dudes trying to pull her off the track, and she's like
Oh my God.
rips them out of there and just keeps running, and like
Yeah.
then it's like talking about like how if like women show they're angry or this or that, like they're crazy and all this stuff, and then she's like, well, show them you're crazy, because I have won like 23 titles and was like a mom and this, and then shows like all these other women doing like this stuff women aren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
Shit.
like hit you in the chest, like, woo, you know what I mean? So I feel like to tie that into like what your business is doing, I feel like as I follow Wild Adventurous Life over the past year, that's like kind of what it seems like it's
Totally.
do.
Yeah, that's what it's really all about, and like just empowering, especially women, you know, men too, of course, but just like you said, like women have been, I hate to use the word like suppressed, but not encouraged to like fully step into their full potential in all areas of their lives. And like that's such an uprising right now, which is so powerful.
Oh, for sure.
Especially in our community, I feel
Yeah,
like.
for sure.
I keep talking about this. I know like more like badass women entrepreneurs than I do men. I don't know if that's just my own personal thing, but it's like all these women in Portsmouth are just doing this like
Totally.
stuff.
And they're all like, what's so amazing is they're all connecting and they're all encouraging each other. Like it's not a competition anymore. Like look at just the photographers. Like you're all so connected and supporting each other. That's so amazing.
Well, a huge part of it too is just recognizing that like even if you're doing the same thing as somebody else, like it's your own.
Yeah.
Like even just think about like what is your job title at Laney? You call it something different, creative.
Yeah, I'm the Chief Creative Officer and General Manager.
But then what is the other part? That like you used another word to describe general manager.
House leader.
Oh, our house leader.
It's like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's just such a great example of like putting like a fun, different twist on something.
Yeah,
You know
and
what
I mean we call like our staff soul servers.
Yeah.
Like, and our dishwashers dish bosses. Like,
that's so
that
dope.
just like creates a totally different atmosphere, and like there can be like a million cafes in the area, but they're all gonna be
also different.
so different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Based on the environment.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
For sure.
So let's talk about like your journey, like getting involved in Laney and Lou and Wild Adventurous Life, and how you like where that became.
Yeah, so I graduated college in 2014. At the time, I had gotten engaged like a week before. And so engaged, graduated, my dad opened a restaurant, and I walked in as a general manager, literally all within a 3-week period.
Wow.
Which was like, holy shit, it's a lot. But it was amazing. And like, it was a seasonal like seafood restaurant, and I was working like 60 to 80 hours a week, like really busting my butt. But it was seasonal, so there was an end. So at the end of the season, I was eating like really healthy and really watching like my activity and stuff, and going to Thrive and Exeter all the time because I was getting ready to get married, right? Mm-hmm. So I would start to see like signs for Laney and Lou, and I was like, what is that about?
Yeah.
So then I went in on the first day and was like, I think I'm gonna work here. So this was supposed to be like my vacation, like fun job for the off season, right? And so I went in, and Jen hired me on the spot, and very quickly I got promoted, and I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I did both jobs for a little bit during the off season, and then I had to tell my dad that I'll be his consultant and that I was, leaving. So that's how I got into Laney and Lou, and it's just honestly like changed my life. And then I just worked so closely with Jen that like I'm just got wrapped up into the Wild Adventurous brand as well.
Yeah. So what was your initial role at Laney and Lou?
I came in as a sole server,
Okay.
and then she had let the general manager go, so then it was like promotion after promotion after promotion, was up to like the house leader position, and then where my passion was really the creative side.
Okay.
So then she essentially made this role for me as Chief Creative Officer.
I love that.
Which is so cool. Like I get to show up to work and do what I love so much, which is like amazing. I love my job.
What did you go to college for? Just like to back up real
Yeah, they made me pick a major, so I
Damn colleges.
It's like,
they make you pick a major.
Yeah, what 18-year-old kid? Yeah, what 18-year-old kid knows?
Yeah, so I waited to like the last moment, and then they're like, end of sophomore year, you gotta pick something. So I did business with focus in management.
Beautiful.
Which worked out, right?
Yeah.
That's literally what I did. Like I literally had no idea, so I just like somehow ended up in business management, but it applies to everything.
Everything. I was like, this could be like pretty universal,
Yeah.
so I guess I'll do that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Good choice.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about, guilty. I admit that I have definitely watched Stef's like videos of making your plates of like the foodscapes.
Yeah.
Like literally just like caught in like. So that's
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're
So
really beautiful.
You've got some coming to you.
I know. I'm so excited.
when
Two
did
months.
like was that part of the Laney and Lou business model, or is that like you bringing in your creative genius to that? Like you just
Yeah, that was Jen and I stalking people on Instagram and being like, we need to do that.
Okay.
And then one day we just did.
Okay.
And it kind of took off and like people really wanted it. We've done it for weddings, for grand opening parties. We'll do like 5-foot boards of it.
oh
And
wow.
there's some really exciting things happening around that realm. I'm not gonna just tease about a whole lot,
Just tease it.
just a little tease, but yeah, some exciting things happening there.
That's incredible.
If you come to our grand opening on Friday, you'll get a little sneak peek.
Yes.
We'll have one there.
Yeah, super exciting.
Yeah, heads up.
Yeah.
Cool. So where does that we asked you like what being creative was to you, and like you brought that right back to food. So I think that's like
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, it's so interesting because this hasn't always been my journey, right? I kind of just fell into it. And you just learn as you go along that like anything you get your hands on, you can make beautiful. And that's like something I'm super passionate about, is like turning anything I touch into something beautiful. And not only is it like artistically beautiful, but it's like nourishing for your body and like tastes so good. So all around, like it's just
That's amazing.
super cool.
Yeah.
I just think it's so cool how many different ways creativity can like express itself.
Yeah, like
Like-
anything can be your canvas.
And that's so funny because like you've kind of like I would have never like thought that I could do it through food, but I think I was like, because I like cooking.
Yeah.
I just don't like cooking for myself. That's weird. Like it's hard to cook for one person. But when I
Yeah.
cook for everyone, I like bring out my like Mario Batali skills and like just like chef it up and like
Yeah.
I guess that's like a way of it. I never really thought of that, but then
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah,
cool.
chefs are artists.
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, if you look at any of the food we serve at Laney and Lou, it's all like
Oh my God, it's
beautifully
art.
curated, like such a part of our experience, which
Yeah.
And so
is
colorful.
I
Yeah.
think that makes like it just like creates like a whole different element when you walk in there. It just like
Yeah.
creates that experience. Like
yeah, like it's so fun. You'll deliver someone's food and they'll be like, "Oh my God,
Instagram.
take a picture." like 9 times out of 10, it's amazing.
oh my god.
It's so funny. I was actually just looking at Laney and Lou's Instagram. I was tagging you in something this morning, and Laney and Lou has a ton of followers, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I wonder how they got so many followers on Instagram. And I was like, that's exactly how.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to Instagram their
Their
food there.
Yeah, because it's beautiful. And like
Yeah.
it is incredible the following we've gotten just by like sharing what we do. And like even the quirks, like we try to share some behind the scenes things. We do this thing called the donut dance where I literally drag the staff outside and I'm like, dance with donuts, and like people live for them. It's so funny.
Oh my
That's
God.
hysterical.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on Laney and Lou, just for like the people that don't know, like what's kind of some of the like foods and like what do you guys
yes.
serve there?
Yeah,
Because-
so we are an inspired eatery and we serve everything from smoothies to smoothie bowls, rice and grain bowls, salads, some sandwiches. But what's super important to us is that we try and fuse everything like to be as nutrient dense as possible. We have like a whole list of superfoods that we add to our things. We're really mindful about where we source our ingredients and our products from, which makes Laney and Lou so special. I mean, we have so many connections with local farmers. We buy
Nice.
everything organic when it makes sense.
That's
Like we
amazing.
compost everything. All of our packaging is 100% compostable, which
That's so
is
good.
amazing.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite
Good stuff.
thing at Laney and Lou?
Yeah, what's your fave?
I haven't been there in a minute. I'm not gonna lie. So memory. Last time
I
I,
feel
was
like
there,
you're a Huevos guy. Huevos rancheros.
yeah.
Yeah.
That would. I had what did I have last time? I think you guys have like some kind of like. Do you have like a turmeric latte thing?
Yeah, turmeric
Yeah.
latte.
That yeah, I had one of
That's
those,
similar.
and then I'll just go with Huevos rancheros because I honestly haven't met in a minute, so like I'm like I feel like I'm
I assume I would like that.
I'm like sorry.
I like the cashews, the curry bowl.
Yes, the colorful curry bowl.
Oh my God,
when I first started,
good.
I ate that every single
It's
day,
so good.
legitimately.
I like something about, and it's like you don't skimp on stuff. Like some places you go and they're like, oh, there's like 3 cashews in there. I don't love the cashews for some reason. And it's like, no, you like put the stuff
You
in
get
there.
it.
You get the stuff.
Yeah.
And every single donut.
Every donut.
So good. And the turmeric latte.
So I think what's so cool is like you guys, you know, you see this beautiful woman, this like powerhouse in my eyes, like Beyonce lady. No, seriously, that's my view. But you know, as our podcast is all about, is about vulnerability and like the story to get to where we are today. So you know, wherever you feel comfortable starting, do you want to just like get into it? And,
yeah,
like,
we can.
Yeah, let people know. Let's just smack them in the face.
I will preface this with there is what I like to call like the Lifetime movie version, which is like super entertaining, but not the whole point of my story. So we're gonna dial that back a little bit.
Exactly.
But yeah. So I really feel like my story and my journey started just over a year ago. I had just turned 26. I was married. My husband and I bought 6 acres of land and spent years building our dream house. Like, so much time and effort and money went into this thing, and we moved in and like thought life was all planned out. Like, we had the house, we were gonna have kids, we had a great family, I had the job, everything was great, and then everything wasn't, and my like whole plan, my whole world just got rocked, and all of that fell apart. So I found myself on my sister's couch for 2 months living out of a bag. And it was such an important part of what was happening because I was surrounded by so much love. My sister and her husband and her 2 kids just loved on me so hard while I was like literally crying myself to sleep every night. My nephew would like charge down the stairs yelling, Auntie! every morning. And he wouldn't let me leave to go to work without having a dance party before. So like, Tyler's the best, right? So that was so helpful to just be like, when you feel so alone, to be actually surrounded by love is so important, and to let people love you and, you know, give you help when you need it.
Well, I think it must be cool too, like especially like Tyler, he was like what, 2 at the time, like he has no idea, right? Like he's just like, I just see my auntie and I love her, and that's it. That's all you
that I'm there, like 2 month long sleepover without her. Great.
Yeah, like literally has no idea of what else is going on and just sees you for the human you are.
Yeah, but also, you know, kids are so smart, and like he would see me on the couch like crying or something, and he would come up and just hug me or like put his arm on me and be like, it's okay, Auntie. Like, oh my God. But so amazing.
They're intuitive. They're sometimes like dogs.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
dogs
Like they
totally,
know.
Yeah,
they know what's going on.
Yeah, I got some crazy stories. Like my cousin has like a 2-year-old, and he would like point to the corner of the room and say like prepare, and obviously no one can see anything, but I think they like dogs see like spirits and stuff, like angels.
Oh my gosh, it's like freaked me out before. I've been in his room with him, and he'll just like point at like the corner. I'm like, what the hell is going on over there?
Oh my God.
So
no, keep going.
So after 2 months, we divorce was happening, right? So I was like, okay, I've watched enough Netflix and have like slept on a couch. My back's like starting to hurt at this point. I've run out of clothes, right? So I'm like, okay, what's next? So it was March 1st, and I went to the beach, and it was like, felt like it was 80 degrees. It was probably like 40. But I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And like, I just went there and sat there for hours and like cried, but then like looked around like smiling. Are people watching me? Like, it's so weird.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, right? You're like,
it's like every day. It's like every day.
Yeah. So I just felt like this sense of peace. And like, I even remember texting my now ex-husband and being like, I'll be fine. Like, everything will be fine. And I like had my journal, and I was like, March 1st, I was like, today is the first day of the rest of your new life. And I was like, okay, what do I need now? I need to be here. I need to be at the beach because this is how I'm going to heal. So that same day, I went on to Airbnb and I booked a beach house for 2 months. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm just doing it. Can you swear on this?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a wild heart. Yeah, there's no holding back.
Like a wild heart.
So I'm like, I'm doing this. And I grabbed my friend who had just lost her mom also. So she was doing some healing too. And I was like, we're going to this place. We dubbed it the Oasis. Which was amazing. And it was like probably the most memorable and like, you know, I forgot a lot of what happened there, but part of my life. Like, I'm not joking. We lived off of what we called white girl jungle juice, which was hard seltzer mixed with wine, which is like,
oh my God.
Do not try it. Do not try it. It's bad news. And beach pizza, like we calculated how much beach pizza we ate, and it was like over 100 pieces. Like it was disgusting, but incredible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You needed it.
Needed it, and I was like, you know, I understand this probably isn't the best thing for me, but this feels good right now, and this is temporary, right? Yeah. But I just spent that time like really just letting myself heal and also discovering who I was on my own. I had gotten married right out of college and I never had this like real sense of self, right? Because I always had a role. I would wake up every morning and like walk down to be at the ocean for sunrise, like in a snowstorm, because it was March and April at this point. And I would just like wander around. Like I would drive around to places without anywhere to go. And I spent a lot of time journaling and at Wally's biker bar. A lot of time there. That's the parts that I don't remember so much, but part of the journey, right?
Yeah, that happens at Wally's.
Yeah.
I think we all know it well.
Oh yeah. So it was very impactful that time, but then it came to an end. Like I said, I'll give myself this 2 months to like let loose a little bit, heal, do whatever I have to, and then I'll start my new life. And that's what I did. So 2 months were up, and I was like, I'm moving to Portsmouth. I like found this amazing apartment, moved to Portsmouth, and just decided then like that's it. It's time now to step forward.
Yeah, step into your
I think that's like, God, every time you tell us, like it just. It like kind of blows my mind just because, and maybe it's just because part of my journey has been like about developing that emotional language and actually like feeling stuff. I don't think I'm alone in that, but just how you like, just bravely like went in there, went to the Oasis, like did your thing, like cried your eyes out, like felt it out, did what you did to need to heal, and then just like pulled up the bootstraps and we're like, all right, here we go. Like, I was cheated on in an earlier point in my life, and like it destroyed me. So like for me, like at least for me, seeing the story, it's just like it's so inspirational to me because it's like damn, like homegirl got like courage and like strength and like just to march out there. For me, like that's I really commend you for that, and I think it's like that's what's super inspiring about your story to me. It's like just feeling the feels and then like getting back out there and going.
Yeah, I mean it's so important that like when you go through something like that and feel those feelings, like you have to heal or else you're just pushing it down, right? Mm-hmm. So give yourself that time and that space, and then don't stay there because that's where everyone gets stuck. Like, would I have liked to eat beach pizza and drink hard seltzers forever? Maybe. Like that's not actually a bad idea, but like no, you have to pick. It's a choice. Like you can stay there or pick yourself up and like live into your new life. And so for me, like I saw this as the greatest opportunity to live into who I truly am and to discover who I truly am and what I want now for my new life. And like it's kind of like, why wouldn't you choose that? I get that that's the harder thing, but then it's not, because you're so fulfilled. Like it's harder to not do that in the long run. Mm-hmm. It's easier to do that like day to day, sure, to like numb yourself with wine or like the shitty job or the shitty relationship. Yeah, that's easy, but like what kind of life is that? Like you get to choose how you want your life to be and then go after it.
Oh my God, yeah.
Well, what I think is so cool about that, I wonder if you've ever looked at life this way, and I think like as I've gotten older, this is kind of how I look at it, which might be positive, might not, but it's like, you're writing your own movie, right?
Yeah,
so like,
absolutely.
I know like anytime like something like intense happens or like a wipeout, I'm like, all right, this is just gonna make a great comeback for
Next
this movie.
scene,
Let's go. Like here we go. Let's try. So I think it's all about perspective, right? Because you could have played the victim card, but like you chose like. No.
Yeah, it's perspective, mindset, and choice making for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
I think another really important thing that you said a little while back was that you have to let love in.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by all of this love, and like that's another choice is for you to like allow yourself to receive that love and take that love in. Because I know it personally, for me, that's something that I've done a really good job of blocking. Like people who are trying to give you that love, but it's like I put up this wall and I'm like,
don't help me.
Don't help me. I'm gonna figure it all out on my own and don't let it in. But like that's another incredible choice I think that you've made is that you let your 2-year-old love the crap out of you.
Yeah.
You let your family love you. And I also think it's important to note that while you're at this 2-month beach house, you were still going to work. You were still surrounded by the love of your like community at work as well.
Oh
correct?
my gosh, totally. Like I have the like most incredible support network. Everyone from my whole family to like all of my friends to being at work like kept me going every day because we have the most amazing people there, and like they knew everything that was going on and like would check in with me constantly, like what's happening today, where are you, like how can I support you, how can I help you. I mean, it was pretty tough. Like I was discovering things about what had happened, while also I had to go out and get myself a new car. I had to figure out where I was going to live, what I was going to do, how to fill out divorce papers. Like I'm 26 at this point. I know what the fuck I'm doing. Like I've never like had to fully adult on my own. I'm like clueless. I'm like, I don't have a choice but to figure it out. And how I'm gonna figure it out is to let people help me. Which you're right, like that can be so hard, especially like if you're stubborn and you're like, no, I got this, but it's like, no, you're gonna get there by letting people in and letting them help you and then showing up for them when they need it.
Yeah. So what about that feeling between like knowing that you need to let people in, but like kind of maybe like a fear surrounding like shame or like embarrassment or like that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
How do you work through that?
So honestly, I kind of joke about this, but like I never really let myself get there. I didn't feel a lot of shame around what had happened, because where is that going to get me? Nowhere. And like I understand my role in everything that went down and whatever, but that's nothing to be ashamed about. Like we're all humans, right? Everyone involved in whatever happens in your life, we're all humans, and just looking at that and understanding that really helps you get through it. Like you may do things that you regret or whatever, but like what's the point in being embarrassed or shameful about it when you can just learn from it going forward?
I think what's so powerful, again, it comes back to perspective, is like oftentimes we have traumatic things that happen in our life and you can create whatever story you want about that, and you can attach to those feelings. So I think what's so powerful about your story is like you were able to look at this, even though you were like so like, I think 99% of humans would be so emotionally attached and involved in that. It's like it seems like you were somehow able to like take this outside looking in perspective of like, well, this really isn't about me. Which is super, especially in something like that where it's such a close interpersonal relationship. You were able to just have this like seed of wisdom, it seems, right? To just be like, no, it's not about me. I'm not gonna like attach that story.
Definitely to a degree. Like I did feel, some responsibility, but not letting myself play the victim in this. I think was important.
Yeah.
I think go for it.
To have the perspective of like, this isn't going to run my life, and like while this is part of my story, this is not going to be my story. Like I'm not going to let this be my whole life and hold me back from continuing on.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I think you had written down in your journal like, what do I need right now to make my life worth living, or something?
Yeah, something along those lines, which I think about, daily, right? So like, what do I need right now? So at first it was like love. I need to be surrounded by love, so I'm gonna sleep on a couch.
Yeah.
Then it was I need to be by the ocean and like away. And I was staying at this beach house. I was like 45 minutes away. Nobody knew like where I was, what I was doing. Like there was an anonymity, which is like was so powerful for me because before like someone knew where I was at all times. So like I needed that sense of like freedom and independence and like kind of I guess it was independence really.
Yeah.
And then it was now that I've been through this, what do I need now? And it was you need to figure out how to step up into your new life. So I like consumed podcasts and books constantly, like how to elevate your life. I would listen to like Rachel Hollis podcast or read like I don't know Brene Brown, anything to like how do I do this thing on my own now when I'm so used to having like a partner or whatever. It was how do I get to where I want to go? And honestly, what I would do and what I still do daily is like write out and really spend time thinking and meditating on what do I want my life to be like in all aspects. Like what do I want to feel like? What do I want to look like? Where do I want to be? What do I want to do? Who do I want to be around? Literally constantly thinking about all that and curating this life in my mind and then taking actions to get there.
Was there somebody or something in your like childhood or upbringing that like taught you to ask these questions? Because I feel like you're very like introspective. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like you're just like have all these questions and you know that there must be an answer and like how to get there and like continuously like educating yourself.
Yeah, honestly, like not that I remember. I remember though from as far back as I can remember, like always having this spirit and attitude of like life is supposed to be good, like life is supposed to be amazing and you can do whatever you want and like fill it with whatever you want.
I mean, I think there's a quote I have and it talks about exactly what you're saying there is that like life is supposed to be good and it's like the quote is basically you have to believe something different can happen.
Yeah.
And like so no matter what your circumstance, like you always have the power to change it. And like the way you talk about your story, it really seems like as you gave yourself this ultimatum, like I have to figure this out, it seems like you kind of stepped into this place of, well, I have the answers for me because this is my life and I have to choose it. And I'm actually reading this book right now. I can't remember the author, but it's called Rise of Superman, and it's really talking about how people get into what they call the flow state, and about how we are pushing what we think is possible for human beings. And really the biggest space that's exponentially happening is like extreme athletes, X Games, because like they're exactly like, and to tie this back to your stories, because they literally like if they're not in the flow, if they're not present, like they die. Like one mistake is death. So a lot more extreme, but like coming back to yours, it's like, but you didn't give any gray area. It was black and white, like I must figure this out. There's no other option. And it's like you're tapping into this, like your answers, because they're in here.
Right. And when I didn't have the answers, because nobody has all the answers, right? I look for them. Right? Yeah. Like I spend time searching for what it is that like lights me up and then chase after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have a question for you about like that process of, going from the couch, because it seems like you have this nice mix of like living presently for what you need in each moment, but also like somehow calm, maybe it wasn't calm, but like and when you tell it, like calmly curating what you wanted your future to look like. Because I think when we talk about our stories, sometimes it's like, oh, it happened, like we talk about it pretty like nonchalant, but you have this like beautiful life you built, you worked years for, and then it was and then all of a sudden now you're gonna come up with a new version, like reinvent yourself. So can you kind of talk to the people about like your process, at least from what you remember? Like, was it like each day you were thinking about something, or was it like you were adding to the list, or just talk us through that process, because I think that's important for people to understand how
Sure. So for a while it was survival mode, right? So like couch oasis, survival mode, like get through the day, figure out how to fill out a financial affidavit, survival. And then once I got those things, right, because it's just a list. It's a list of like shit you have to do, and then you do it, and then you're like, okay, now what? So for me, like I said, I started listening and reading all these things that really got me to this place of understanding that I get to curate my life. So for me, it would be reading things and listening to things that would guide me along that process. So I guess to answer your question, my process is like really come down to my routine. I feel like has been instrumental in this. So pretty much every morning I'll wake up at like 5:20 and meditate for 10 minutes. I know, I see you. I'm like, girls out here.
Like 7 I'm waking up at 7.
Yeah, so I'll meditate for 10 minutes. Like I won't even leave my bed just right then, or else it's not gonna happen, right? So I just do it right then. Get up, go to the gym for 6-ish, and then come home, get ready, go to work, and then at night, like I'll spend time reading or journaling, and literally, like I just said to you, like list out what it is that I want in my life. And then like kind of manifest it there. So I left out, after I meditate, I journal every morning, and it's 3 intentions for the day. It used to be 3 goals, but 3 intentions felt better. So like how I want to show up in the world, or if I want to drink a shitload of water that day, or like if I want to let love in and like give love out that day, whatever. 3 intentions for the day. And then 3 gratitudes, which is so important, right? So just 3 things that I'm grateful for in that moment or in my life, and then 3 affirmations. So this is really like I am enough, or I have the best job in the whole world, or whatever it is, like something I want to affirm or something I want to manifest. Yeah. And then I'll free write on the other page, and usually it's like a long combination of like gratitude and manifestation. Okay. So that really, I think, started to shape the vision for my life and what I wanted. And it would be everything for like, you know, what down to like what I wanted my body to feel like, or how I wanted to show up at work. So like when you're always thinking about these things, your brain's listening. Yeah. And then you're going to act in a way according to what you want and what you want to feel.
Mm-hmm. Are there things that have kind of like shown up on that list like repeatedly? Yeah. Or like for like throughout your life? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So for me, lately, like I was just thinking about this a lot. For the last 4 months, mostly, I was starting to feel I was at my heaviest weight, and from like the Oasis cleanse of beach pizza and seltzer, right? And then moving to Portsmouth and going out all the time and dating and drinking and meeting, right? So I was at my heaviest weight, and I saw a picture of myself, and I was like, holy shit. And so then it turned into like, my body is beautiful. I love my body. I'm so strong. I'm so healthy. I'm so confident. And then like literally daily, I would say that, and I would look in the mirror and I would feel those things. I would think about what it would feel like to truly feel that, right? Mm-hmm. And then I just stepped on the scale today, and I'm like 17 pounds down, and I go to the gym 5 days a week. Thank you. Yeah. So it's like you putting that out there, and then you taking those steps to get there. So that's definitely one. I am enough is one, right? Of course. Yeah. And then even things like wealth and abundance, like that's usually sprinkled in there. Is like abundance is always available to me. Money is constantly flowing to me. Like money is just energy, and like for me, it's around having money has to do with the feelings of freedom, right? So I have money, so I'm free to go to Bali in May, or I'm free to live in downtown Portsmouth. Like it's feeling that freedom of being able to do whatever I want. So that's usually on there too.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many good things running through my head, so I'm gonna try and condense them. So one of the things I think that's really important, and there's a couple of things here. So first one is the idea of asking yourself questions. So I remember listening to Tony Robbins, and he was talking about this guy that he had some like scholarship at Boston University, went out and like did some absolute fuckery, like screwed it all up, like just, I don't remember the night. And then, you know, he could have looked at that as like, oh my God, blah, blah, I'm an idiot, this is this. But instead, he talked about how he asked the questions to like find the solution. And like you said, when you're thinking about these things, if you ask yourself the questions, like you don't know all the answers, but like your inner guidance will like guide you to those answers, whether it's in a book you read or in a conversation or whatever it is. You have to ask yourself the questions. So I think that's super important to talk about. And then I also want to talk about the element of this like morning routine. So your morning is how you start your day, right?
Yeah.
Like that, and just like I know you talked about yours, but can you talk about how instrumental that is? Because I know for me, it's not that if I don't do my morning routine, I can't like go operate in the day, but if I want to operate on my highest self and like most grounded and make like centered decisions, like meditating and like stretching and eating a good breakfast and having some water and starting that day off right are like essential.
Yeah.
So can you just talk to the people about like that and like what the difference is maybe with not doing it versus doing it and why it's so important to you?
For sure. So, you know, I love what you said of like your morning is the start of your day, right? But your day, like the collection of days is your life. So like, why would you not want to set yourself up to have the best morning, which leads to the best day, which leads to your best life? So for me, like it was all about grounding and intention setting and being really mindful of my mindset. Because had I not done that, I very easily could have been stuck in the mindset of like, this is shit. Like my life is shit. I don't know what to do, whatever. But when you have the presence to be like, no, today I'm going to show up in my life by going to the gym, by like fully being present at work and making connections with customers and employees, that sort of thing. So like you get to orchestrate your day from the very beginning. And when you don't do that, your life may become chaotic and messy and you lose control and like intention around it. So like by setting yourself up in the morning, you are literally like curating your day, which is curating your life.
How about this idea of like talking about what you like, the feeling of what you want, the feeling of not like the feeling of what your intention is, because I think that's so important to like, it's easy to list on a piece of paper like I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z, but it's like what does that feel like and how has like that mentality really changed your life? Yeah,
so like what it all comes down to is like you just said, like feeling now how you want to feel later. And thinking about like, what will I feel like when my body is at its prime, right? So I feel confident and I feel beautiful and I feel sexy and I feel strong and I feel fit. Like getting in that mindset now is going to like attract those things for you because your brain's going to start to acknowledge that and accept that as your reality and create that into your reality.
And I think it's
so
like
important for people to hear.
Yeah, and I think it's like cyclical, right? Like I mean, when we talk about these things, like if you wake up in the morning, start your day off at the gym, right? Like you're probably less likely to go for that what do they call it, white girl sangria and pizza.
White girl jungle juice.
Oh, jungle juice, white girl. I was trying to remember, but I just know for myself, but I don't think this is like an individual thing. Is like when I'm going to the gym, I'm more likely to protect that work by eating healthy and by drinking water.
Totally.
Whereas like if you don't have that intention or that goal or how you're going to show up for yourself, it's more like, oh well, dude, 4 for 4 at Wendy's looks pretty good right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's so important that it goes beyond just like weight loss or taking care of your body. Like it shows up in relationships, right? So like if you're thinking about how you feel when you feel loved, you're going to bring that into your life and you're going to attract people into your life that make you feel loved, and you're going to start getting rid of the people in your life that don't make you feel that way. And then you're surrounded by constant support and constant love, which is amazing. But then also like setting the intention in the day, like I said, to show up for your people. Like it's so easy to just like walk into work mindlessly, go through the day like robotically and like treat each person as a transaction. Then if you set the intention to like be fully present in that day. And with people, it's more about connection than transaction.
Oh, for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I've been doing this thing where I randomly open up a page of Brené Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness. Is that one of them?
Yeah.
I haven't started reading it yet, but it's by my bed the last couple
Yeah.
mornings. I've just been randomly opening up to a page and seeing what I open up to, and just reading a page or two. And the Wild Hearts one is so interesting because she has a whole definition of Wild Hearts.
Oh, really?
And I opened up to it yesterday, which was wild.
Yeah.
But that's not actually where I'm going with this.
Oh, okay.
Which is wild.
I thought you were going
And
there.
I feel it in my heart.
Yeah.
But the page I opened up to the other day was about this idea of how we are creating let's just say as a society, so many people are creating these mindful connections around complaining about stuff and getting in this mindset of let's find a common denominator that we hate and talk about it.
That's how so many people form connections, right?
Yeah.
It's shit talking and whining and complaining about how their job sucks or their husband sucks or they're so busy all the time, right? It's so easy to do that, but that when you focus on those
that's
things,
the thing. It's easy.
it's easy,
Yeah.
and you feel some sort of connection, right? But then once you start talking about things like this, doing things like this, you the connection that you make is so much stronger and more powerful than the bullshit connection you made talking about someone's shitty haircut or something.
Yeah. And if you leave those situations typically feeling ashamed or guilty or shit, and then that comes back onto you and you don't want to take care of yourself, and then you go out and you drink or whatever. It just leads to these negative
cycles.
Exactly. It's cyclical again. But it can be tricky and it can be kind of lonely sometimes to step into that place of not condoning that behavior.
Well, that's where the strength. I think this is so great that you guys are bringing this up because it's a theme in my life right now. Because it does. It takes a lot of strength to be okay, I'm in a room full of people. They're all connecting based on these things, the easy things, and you're oh, I really want to feel connected, and I could jump into that, but sometimes it takes a lot of strength, and I think that's your own self-esteem, your own connection with yourself. Can I just sit in the corner and be okay? And not have to be a part of that because I know that if I partake in that, I will feel guilty or ashamed or it won't feel good,
Yeah, and this was a big lesson that I learned at the cafe, which I learned so many things there, but we have zero tolerance for gossiping and complaining. Doesn't happen, not allowed. And that is so powerful because think about any restaurant industry, literally you're just bitching about your customers, your boss, the food, whatever it may be, the hours, anything like that. But when you are not that's not tolerated, that then you start to bring that into the other areas of your life, and you get sick of hearing people complain and talk about other people, and it doesn't feel good. But you're right, it takes courage to step away from that or elevate the conversation or put down the conversation.
Well, I think that really comes back to the power we all have. You are in control of your reality. So I keep hearing oh, that's none of my business, oh, this isn't my business. But you know what, to be honest, if I see someone being bullied, I don't care who you are, you better believe I'm going to step up to that. We experienced this at Book and Bar, this, we don't need to talk about that example, but it's just one of those things where I see trash, I could for years oh, it's not my responsibility. You know what, I want a healthy earth, that is my responsibility. I'm going to go pick up that, I literally pull over on the highway to pick up the trash bag, and throw it in my trunk, that shit is your reality, and that's not okay in my reality, and people abusing other people is not okay in my reality, and I also have to make the same choice that gossip and these other lower consciousness conversations aren't in my reality. Now, I also want a disclaimer. I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not perfect. I still fall into these things sometimes. So it's a practice, guys. There's no
totally
we are
practice.
saying these things as guidance and where we want to be, but no one's perfect. And no. I think sometimes it is about creating those hard lines in the sand. So zero tolerance is perfect, and you got to create the same things for yourself. This is my reality, my business, my relationships, my ex. So you have to set your own rules.
That is so true and so important. I love that you said that because you create your reality and you're the only one who controls your reality. So if there's someone in your life that is so energy sucking and draining, you're choosing to let them into your life. You can actively choose to not let them into your life, and then you don't feel that energy suck.
Yeah.
And it's everything from relationships to job to health. Like, you get to choose. It's your life, and nobody is going to choose for you.
And it always comes back to you have to believe something different can happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
because sometimes letting those people go is like, oh, the unknown, like, oh,
Yeah,
then I'm
it's
alone.
hard.
Oh my God, is there something? But you have to believe that, like, by letting that go, you're making space for this or
Right.
who you don't even know, like
Yeah.
that person that's gonna like uplift you.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, I love that. So I want to go like backwards for a second,
Yeah.
based on
Back to the
kind of.
Please, can we please?
Kind of.
I just love that.
I'd love to go back there. I've thought about, I think I might rent that house like for a weekend every year to just like
Do it.
bring me
Just
back.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
That is amazing. Well, I think like
We'll make a
it's so important for people to understand this idea of, I don't know if this is how I want to word it exactly, but like it's okay to press the restart button on your life.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to, like, we are kind of just like curated individuals from the day that we are born. Like we're becoming like a certain person. Like we
Right.
surround ourselves with the same people from the time we are 6 to the time we graduate high school and then
Yeah.
graduate college and blah blah blah. Like for most people, that's like a life that you've just kind of like walked into, and it's what you had. And I know, like, for me, when I graduated college, I was like, like I don't super feel aligned with a lot of the ways that I live my life now. And that's when I like started to snowball and was like anxiety, like all of the things. And it's like, this life doesn't feel right to me. So like you saying, so like for me, that option was to like move to a state and move to Colorado. Didn't know anybody there.
Wow.
Was like, I'm just gonna press the kind of the restart button, and not because like I hated my life, but because I was trying to consciously figure out like who I was as a person without all of that like
Without the
chaos.
roles and-
Yeah, that had kind of been like placed on me.
Yeah.
And I think you going to the Oasis is kind of similar to that. Like you kind of said that. You were like, you might have even said restart, but I don't remember what you said, but it was kind of this like opportunity for you to just go somewhere new and leave everything like behind, kind of, and figure out who
Who
you
I
are. Like when you take away all the layers of like what society and what your friends and family and college, etc., have like kind of dumped onto you.
Yeah. So for me, it was challenging to like let the idea of the plan go for a while, like especially the house, like that one really, I mean, I would spend hours and hours in the house being built and like see my kids playing in their bedroom or see our first Christmas, or like when I'm 60 years old, like my grandkids in the yard, like I would sit there and visualize this all happening at this place, right? So letting that go and realizing like, well, shit, that's not happening. Like, what's next? How can I reset? How can I make a new life and decide what's in it? And like I said, you know, just spending time at the beach or by myself, like figuring out what my values even are, and like you said, stripping away all the people or circumstance or the roles. Like now I had no role. So now I could finally, for the first time ever, figure out who I even was, which like is constantly evolving, of course, and always changing, but like deep down to my core, who I was and what I wanted. And that was like so important, and I'm so grateful that like this was a shitty thing, but I would not change it for the world, because now I have this life and this knowledge of kind of what not, I don't want to say what not to do, but
How to react, maybe.
how to react and how to move forward with the knowledge that I have. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned is nothing is guaranteed, no matter how much you think it is. Like, I thought my life was guaranteed. I had it all figured out by 26, right? Life, you know, all planned out, and then it wasn't. And now I'm like, okay, well, I just lived my life banking on this guarantee, banking on, like, I saved all my money for 5 years to build this house that I lived in for 2 months, right? So now I'm like, well, shit, like, not that that's time wasted, because it wasn't. It was valuable lessons and stuff, but now I'm not going to live like that. Now I'm going to live with the knowledge that nothing is guaranteed, and I need to do what I want to do and live the life I want to live.
So that's so beautiful because I don't think you're alone in that, because like you just saying that literally brought me back to 22 years old, saved 15 grand, started a business, and a year and a half later I had to decide it wasn't it, and it was devastating. Because literally the same exact thing, I was like thinking about like this is the rest of my life.
This is it.
At 22. And
it's like now.
I know, you're like, what were you thinking? But I think what I want to talk about and kind of get your perspective on is the idea of faith. You know, whether you want to call it religion, spiritual, I tend to identify more spiritual, but this idea of faith. And by faith, I mean like life is happening for you.
Yeah.
So like, I think this element of, I've heard this before and it's such a paradox and like it's like kind of mind-boggling sometimes, but it's like we are not in control of anything, right? But like you can control your reactions and like your actions, but this idea of like you thought your best life was in this house, like looking at your kids and your grandkids at 60, and then like the universe or God or whatever you want to call it was like, no, just kidding. Actually, you'd be way better right here. So we're just gonna swipe that up for you.
Like drop this bomb.
So I think like, first of all, I just want to say to like the viewers, you know, like this idea of like if you can really adopt that. I know for myself, like I created a lot of chaos, depression, blah blah blah, throughout my early 20s because it's like I thought it had to be a certain way, and it's like if you can just like let go and be like, all right, like the universe is guiding me.
Yeah.
Like you can manifest stuff and you can kind of have an idea, but if not super attaching to those things and just like if you flow in a different direction, like just always know that that is moving you to a place where you can serve others the most.
Yeah, it's all about trust. All about trust,
for
for sure. Yeah, that's so powerful, and I believe that so deeply. Like, I agree, you can have a plan and a vision for your life, but you have to have an open mind that there is something that has your highest life in mind, right? And is going to do things to get you there, and you have to just accept that and like be like, well, okay, apparently it wasn't that, like what is it, and just kind of go with it and adjust and, you know, like ride the journey, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't even think it has to come back to anything spiritual or religious at the end of the day. Like just saying like, okay, something negative, quote unquote negative happens in your life, and just being able to again react to that and be like, what did I learn from that? And like, where can I go next? So like for anybody who doesn't have any kind of spiritual belief or religious belief, just knowing that like you do have the ability to react to any situation.
Right. Totally. It goes back to choice. Like, it goes back to how you choose to handle that situation and how you choose to move forward from it.
But there's also this principle of attachment too. Like Osho says, there is nothing that's good or bad. It is what it is, and we attach a connotation to it. You know, and you can attach to a human, you can attach to a house, you can attach to a vision, and we all do it. So like again, that like I've done that so many times and caused so much pain in my life because of like such a tight attachment. But that came from lack of trust, lack of gratitude, lack of seeing a bigger picture,
right?
You know, and
expectations, like
let them go.
Letting go. Like if you don't have expectations, you're not going to be disappointed. Don't get me wrong, like you should have set goals and like show up, but like go in open-minded. Don't go into your life of like, I have these expectations that this is my life and this is what it's going to be, and when something happens and that doesn't happen, you let it destroy you because you are so disappointed that your reality didn't work out.
And I think it's also like, I've honestly been going through this lately. So I think this is important to point out, is this idea of like, I'm going to use the gym because that's the best way I can articulate this right now. Is like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym and I lifted like, 200 pounds on the bench press all last week. And then all of a sudden you go in and like, let's just say you're tired, like who knows, your girlfriend broke up with you, like something's happening and you can only lift like 150 pounds. Like you're not always going to be able to have that high level of performance, right? Like it's okay to expect a certain level from yourself, but also understanding that like that's part of the flow. Like you're human,
right?
Like this human thing is kind of tough sometimes, but
totally,
it's like you know, be gentle with yourself. Like, it's part of the process. Like, yes, you want to show up, but, you know, I think it's also part of that whole, like, perfectionism thing. And I know I've been one my whole life, and it's like, if I don't show up as this, like, stoic, well-grounded, like, intelligent human being, like, and I'm angry or something, or, like, all over the place, I just want to run and hide.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's this element of showing people, like, oh, that I'm not, like, I'm human and I'm not perfect, you know?
Well, that's so important to remember, and that's so much like why I try and share what I do is like we're all just real people, like all trying to figure it out. Like I will never pretend to have all the answers because I don't fucking know what I'm doing half the time, but like I'm gonna make the choice to like show up hopefully most days as like my best self, but also being comfortable knowing that that's not the reality every day, and like letting myself have those 4 months of like letting it all go and like, you know, letting myself go and whatever during that time. Like it's such a flow. Like, yeah, you're gonna perform at your highest sometimes, and then you're gonna hit a low, and then you're gonna go up. Like it's just the journey.
It's normal.
It's being human.
I mean, you don't know the highs without the lows. Like you don't know the light without the dark. Like I think that's when you can really wrap your head around that and know that like when you're down, like you can choose to not be stuck there. That's like such a game changer. I mean, can you share with people who are listening like why sharing your story has been so important for you?
Yeah, it's been so important for me because I have connected and like I hate to use the word like inspired, but people like messages daily like you're so inspirational, or like I didn't have the courage to like be on my own and now I do because like I saw you doing it, things like that. And like I'm not gonna like toot my own horn, but like
please do.
No, I know.
We're gonna
it's
make
like,
it uncomfortable.
If I can make someone feel courageous to like step into their highest life, then I'm going to share my story of being at my lowest low to getting to where I am now.
Do you know why that's so important?
Why?
Because you're giving people permission to do the same.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all doing, right? Like we talked about earlier, you know, this element of we can connect on like this sucks, blah, blah, blah. Or we can connect on, you know what, like real life fucking happened to me. And it happened to you, and it happened to you.
And it's always happening.
And I'm gonna make a choice to be my best self regardless. Like I see fear, but I'm gonna choose to move forward anyway.
Right.
And you know what? You gave that girl permission. Like, oh, I couldn't do it. Oh, you know what? Steph did it. Why can't I?
Right.
And it's the same. It's honestly like part of the inspiration for this podcast. Same thing AJ did for me. Like AJ's traveling the world.
Yeah.
AJ's my friend. Why can't I do that?
Why can't I?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you're giving
totally.
people permission slips. Like I'm a man expressing emotions. I'm now hopefully giving other men permission to like express emotionally.
Absolutely.
I think those things are so important. Like that is all. The coffee's ready. We're all giving each other permission to act a certain way, you know, and like, again, it comes down to choice. What kind of permission do you want to have?
Yeah.
What kind of freedom do you want to have?
I think something else that you said that's so important is like you share kind of for those connections, like for creating those connections and having those people reach out. And I think especially using Instagram as a tool for that is so important that you say that, because as social media, like so many people use it as a highlight reel and for an opportunity to share their quote unquote best life and make themselves look perfect. And I think as soon as you kind of let go of this idea of it's all about the likes and allow yourself to truly believe that it's all about the connection, then that's when you really kind of adopted this idea of using social media to its best possible potential.
Right.
Because that's where the change really happens with a tool like Instagram. If you don't get lost in this highlight reel and you allow people to see your most honest, vulnerable self, then just like you said, you give them the opportunity to do the same.
Yeah, and it's so true. And don't get me wrong, like I see Instagram in a couple ways. Like for me, it's a creative outlet where like it's a puzzle that I want to put together like these beautiful pictures. Sure.
Same.
But like at the end of the year, I like did this whole Insta story of like all these beautiful things that happened throughout my year, and then on the last story I wrote like, do not be fooled. This is my highlight reel. You didn't see me locking myself in my closet crying on the bathroom floor. Like you didn't see me not sleeping. You didn't see me on a beach pizza and seltzer cleanse. Like, you didn't see all these things. Maybe you did, because I tried to share some of them along the way, but there's so much that you didn't see and so much more behind the story. And like, when I shared that, like, the messages poured in, like, holy shit. Thank you so much for like reminding me of that.
Yeah.
Because people compare. And I get messages like, what the heck happened? Like, you looked like you had the perfect life with your beautiful house and all this stuff. And it's like, it's not always what it seems.
Yeah.
And so like going through something difficult and being able to like share that journey now, like you said, gives people permission to like let them be human and let them share their story too, so that they can then connect.
Absolutely. Well, I remember you actually, like, the first time you told me this was at Wild Labs, and I literally asked you the same thing. I'm like, what the French toast? Like, you're living in Portsmouth? Like, what happened to this like amazing house? You know?
Yeah.
But that's it. Like, I am just so into this space of breaking societal norms, because to be honest, they're BS.
Yeah.
They really are. Like, a lot of the societal norms. I mean, although I think there's some shifts that are happening, it's like, guys, we are the ones that create what we want to be normal. And you know what? Like, I want it to be normal that, like, we're all human, we all mess up, we all don't have a perfect life.
Yeah.
You know, we all have a balance of both. And I think I heard something a little while ago, and it really relates to my life. I'm pretty sure it can relate to everyone's life. Is like, you can only experience the highest highs if you're willing to actually dive in and feel your lowest lows. Like, your level of joy that you will feel in this lifetime only matches how much you are willing to feel into your darkness.
Yeah.
Because under your darkness is where your light lies.
Yeah.
So you gotta be willing to, and it's not easy. Even though I talk about it a lot, I talk about it a lot because it's a constant reminder I need, because it's like, it gets tough sometimes.
Yeah, and just like, just by you saying like your lowest low or your darkest dark, like, and I told you this, I remember this one night at the Oasis when like, it was bad. And like, the weather outside, it was like this raging storm, like so much wind, snowing, like the biggest waves ever. And I remember like something had just happened, and I ran out to the ocean and just stood there and was like, holy shit, like, this, what is happening right now in the world and like with the weather around me is exactly how I feel. And like, I got to the point where I scared myself because like I was so close to the water, it was so dark out, like literally nobody knew where I was, what I was doing, and I was like, this is feeling dangerous, like I need to get back back inside. But like, the lowest low, the darkest dark, and like letting myself just be there and experiencing it, and like even to the point of it like actually terrifying me, but getting there, and then now to like where I am is so different, and I wouldn't recognize where I am as much as I would have had I not been there.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting too to like just on like in that specific moment, like you probably say we're like inside and like just feeling what you were feeling, and then you go out and you experience that, and then to come back inside, the like comfort and safety you probably felt just from being inside. So it's like sometimes you need to get really outside of your comfort zone and like to a scary place to realize that like where you were initially was actually like a very
safe
like, place.
I'm safe and everything is going to be fine. And also like, I am so small in this world and my problems are nothing. Like, granted that each person has their own shit and like it's not comparable, but like, holy shit, I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like,
but see, I wanna challenge you there, because it is comparable. Like, oftentimes, like, I know in therapy I've been told, like, when you feel shitty, like, look at someone else's life that's way worse. Now, yes, their outer manifestation of that sucks, but what we all share is the feeling. We all feel the same things. It's different manifestations of it.
Yeah.
So don't ever, because I think I've gotten caught in being like, oh man, like, who am I to like talk about my story? Because like this guy, like, I look at my cousin, for example, his story is like insane. So sometimes I question like, who am I? But it's like, okay, but like, let's go back to that point where like I was thinking about like turning the wheel off the road. You know what I mean? Like, I still felt the same things he felt. So I don't like, I want to challenge you, and I think for other people, don't ever discount yourself from what you're feeling.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, your pain is uncomparable because like each person experiences different things, but that they're still real.
Yeah.
Like they're still real,
Yeah.
and they're not any less painful than someone who's dying of cancer. Like someone else's pain can't discredit your own.
Yeah.
I think it's also knowing your audience sometimes too, like knowing whose life you can impact with your story. I think sometimes that's important to know as well.
Yeah.
So I want to selfishly go backwards. So first of all, I want to point out the fact that you have a crystal and a bullet.
This is like the epitome of Stef Heitz.
I know, that's why we're getting there. This is the part. So Steph talked about feeling like she was in roles, and I want to speak as a man, and I don't know if this is like from societal messaging, but like I always kind of had this idea that like women were these like gentle, delicate like creatures that you had to like be very gentle with, and don't get me wrong, they have that aspect, but then there's like Serena Williams and like these badass snowboarders, and then there's Stef Heitz who also shoots guns and like rides Harleys and stuff. So like just tell people about that, because I think that's so awesome, and it's like breaking so many like so much shit in my head, like knowing people like women that are just like embody all their energies, like because at the end of the day I have masculine and I have feminine energy, and I like need to fully like we can fully embody that. I have full permission to do that, and so do women, and I like that's why they're. When you said women have been suppressed, women have been suppressed for a long time.
Yeah.
And
so
they're.
have men.
That's true, but like.
In different ways.
Okay, you're killing my point here. No, I'm trying to like no, but
Sorry.
like there's the rise.
That's a good argument.
Yeah, but women are rising, and it's so like I keep talking about like in like the dating world, like I just want a woman that like sometimes just like kicks the door down. It's like oh yeah, you know what I mean. But like also is like gentle and motherly, and like. But I want to have permission to embody all of that.
That is so interesting that you brought this up, because Jen and I were just talking about this, and like I was talking about it in the context of like how I dress. Like lately, I'm like rocking these biker boots all the time, and like to be honest, I got my motorcycle license when I was 17 years old, and I'm like, maybe I should get another bike. Yeah. But also then like I'm wearing a mala at the same time, and I was like, you know what? You get to decide who you are and what you do, and nobody gets to tell you that you can't. Like, yeah, I'll like fire off a automatic rifle, and then I'll go to a yoga class. Like, and people are gonna be like, what the hell? Like, this girl is so contradictory. But no, like, I love, being on a motorcycle, and I love a nice downward dog. Like, whatever it is, like you give yourself permission to like what you like and do what you want to do, and don't fit into what you think you're supposed to be like.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. You've given us so much advice, but I think, can you just like pick one piece of advice that you would like to like wrap this up with?
Oh, God.
For anybody who maybe is just going through something unexpected in their life, or somebody who is diving into a new experience in their life.
Yeah, I think the advice that I would give them is to have perspective, and like realize that this may be a hard time in your life and a hard chapter, but like you get to decide what the next chapter is going to be, and like really spend time deciding what that chapter is. Feel how you will feel when you get to that chapter, and then go get it.
Yes.
My heart just did
so
jumpy
good.
things.
Oh, so good.
So yeah, I think we've reached like.
Yeah, we've been here for a bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to
leave.
leave.
It's already an hour.
Can we keep you forever, Steph?
Yeah, sorry.
Forever.
Hey, everyone else, cancel all your appointments. We're doing it. She's staying here.
She's staying for another
A whole day.
But seriously, so let's finish as we always do. What is a wild heart to you?
A wild heart to me is an open heart and an open mindset, right? So dealing with some of the shit that comes in your life, but still being courageous enough to love and be loved, I think.
I love that. Full circle. Back to the courage.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Steph.
Thank you for having me,
Yeah.
guys. That was so great.
Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at stef.heitz.
And that's what it's.
Yeah, STEF.HEITZ.
Or visit you
Or
at
at the
Laney and
cafe.
Yeah.
Yep. Or keep your eyes out for some wild, adventurous life events, and keep your eyes out for a new business that's coming.
Whoa.
Yay! And come on Friday to see you in person.
Yes, come Friday.
Oh my god. All right.
Cool.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Well, have a wonderful rest of your week. Kick some ass. Be yourself. Have a wild heart.
Yeah.
Happy
Thanks,
Monday.
guys.